is kind of back. The Shuttle FootyCast live from the BackChat Studios. Your good friend Mark Reddings and myself with you today. G'day, Skeet. You happy with my voice today? Or?
Well, you're happy with your voice, happy with the fact you're wearing pants and shoes. It's actually just got the trifecta. You've actually come to play, which is really nice. And as the rest of the modern world goes down south and heads on holidays, we're sitting here talking about footy, and that's all I'm doing this weekend. So, yeah, happy days.
As you know, like when I wake up in the morning, I think, what would Mark Reddings like me to do with my life? Like, I often think that. That's a thought that pops into my brain.
And then you go, right, I'll go completely opposite to that, and my existence is complete.
Yeah, a bit of feedback from the podcast Monday. And again, sorry, guys, but hopefully you do appreciate the fact that I was here at least. I heard a lot of people that... you were very fatherly in nature. You were very.
It was a caring.
You were disappointed in. It wasn't caring. You were disappointed in.
No, I disappointed, and you probably did sum it up. I was disappointed because I wish I was there with you to guide you in the right direction in Adelaide, as opposed to sitting here and not.
Guide you in the right direction to the next bar.
Exactly.
Don't go home yet. Is my intel correct that potentially a bit of Home Alone at the moment? Just you and Victoria?
Well, two of us on Home Alone. Home Alone is the ultimate when you sit there and you can just get your Jats crackers, have a shelter, watch footy, punt, and have a great time. But
so the twins are in Japan?
They're in Japan as we speak.
Right. And so that's not changed any routine for you?
I won't see my wife.
Happy.
I won't see my wife till 10 o'clock tonight. Seriously, she's working today. I go and call the footy on radio from 5 to 10, and we'll see each other on Good Friday. So she's probably happy than I am.
Aren't you calling 5 games of footy this weekend?
No, only doing tonight, tomorrow for 7, Saturday for 6 p.m, Saturday night waffles. Only 4. Next weekend's 5.
So you're not working Sunday? It's pretty bit lazy.
Oh, I tell you what, it's anyway. It's footy, and it could be doing a lot of other jobs that aren't as much fun.
Welcome to the Shuttle FootyCast, where WA's best footy show and WA's best beer combine to bring you all the biggest footy news and previews for round 6 this week. Of course, Aspect Accountants on board before tax time if you're a small business owner or even looking at taking your side hustle to the next level. Contact Aspect Accountants this end of financial year for a free initial consultation on all things accounting and tax. Info at aspecta.com.au is those details, Skeet. Make sure you're stocked up for the long weekend as well. I mean, this is, and I please don't take this the wrong way, but I'm not overly religious in terms of,
no.
I don't really, so we're not allowed to, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you don't drink on Friday, Good Friday. No, I'm just saying.
So if you're certain religions, absolutely. And, I respect the fact that Good Friday is a pretty important day for some people on the calendar, as is Easter Sunday. I'm a Catholic.
Yep.
Would I say I'm a highly practicing
Devout.
one? No. I've got. I do pray for blokes like you and my family, my mates. I could put you in the friends category. No, occasionally say I hope everyone's the health of your families.
You actually do.
I genuinely do. I don't go and sit in a church and do it.
Yes.
I also prayed for a couple of multis over the journey as well. That hasn't come up. But I have a Catholic background, but I wouldn't say I'm a strong Catholic. But I totally respect people tomorrow to go, and that's the only thing about Good Friday. We'll both be at the footy.
Yep.
We think it's great. But I guess there were 2 days of the year prior to all this coming into vogue, Christmas Day and Good Friday, where it was just, you know what, you and your family, me and my family, either if you don't go to church, which is fine, you go and do something together as a family. It's back. It's basically a weekend day now, like a weekender.
It's turned into just a bit of a public holiday, isn't it? But maybe footy's the new religion. I don't know, Skate.
Well, there's racing and there's that's where it's at. It's not going back, and choice is what it's all about, I suppose.
All right, Skate. Let's get into the big moments of this week. I think we'll start with Willie Rioli. That feels like a bit of a pressure point there with what's happened there. So, of course, we spoke about it on Monday. Sort of gave the celebration, got pushed over, then AFL retweeted it. He took that, put his comments about Hawthorn, sort of developed a little bit. His comments are around some of the things that went on at Hawthorn around his dad's era, and he had sort of particular issue with Jason Dunstall at his Hall of Fame induction with the story around his dad. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I saw the quotes, and I know you got a different sort of take on it because you mentioned on radio last night that if your late father, I don't have my father either, but I was trying to put myself into that position. There was a story told about him that was not overly complimentary, but also wasn't done in I don't think in a serious put down tone. I wouldn't have any grounds myself for being overly upset with Jason Dunstall. That's not to say you wouldn't or Willie wouldn't. It's just me. I don't have any issue because I know it wasn't done in a malicious way. Willie took offence. I understand that. There was certainly, in my eyes, and I'm not the arbiter of this, I don't think there was anything racial about it, but he felt sensitive about it. Do I think Willie was right putting what he did on social media? If I was at Port, I'd be saying probably not, if I'm being totally honest. I just don't think it's inflammatory. But what happened afterwards is totally unacceptable with regards to the racial stuff. That's just in a nutshell.
That's the two parts, right? The first part, like all of us who have microphones in front of us and, when you're talking in public forums, there's plenty of things you'd take back. Like, you can't walk around and go, I don't regret anything. I think given sort of what's happened, I guess what we've learned, I did watch that story from Jason Dunstall, and of course it wasn't told in a malicious way. It was sort of a sporty story.
But was it at when he became an AFL legend? Was it at an AFL function, or am I wrong?
I think it was his induction.
That's what I thought. Yeah, and
so it was just a sporty type story. Like, I'm so shit and slow, I couldn't beat anyone until
along comes
Willie Rioli came down, and I know how close Willie is to his family. I guess I was influenced a bit because I knew. I know Willie, and I know he would have been pissed off. I met his old man. I know.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's that, right? And that, to be honest, Port Adelaide isn't going to have a social media manager at midnight at Willie's house going, don't do this, don't do that. And we're going to, as an industry, it's going to happen more and more.
But for me, a player putting anything about hating an opposition club, It's probably not smart.
It's not smart, but is it the worst thing in the world? No, and you'll agree with that.
No, but what it does, it invites idiots and peanuts and cowards and racists to jump on and fly at him, and that's always good. I can't see it changing. As I said to you the other night, it'd be great if there were stronger parameters from social media accounts. That's been asked, but it's not happening. And yeah, you're right. Your argument was it's incumbent on the person themselves to act maturely and with respect. That doesn't happen, and it's not changing.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I just don't think social media restriction and making anonymous accounts, I don't think that stops it. People are still dickheads, and I couldn't say this on radio last night, but we've got a lot of fuckwits in our society, Skeet, and I'm sorry for saying that word, but it really pisses me off when people want to go on and racially abuse people, like whether you're anonymous or not. Like, I don't understand how you get to that point. It is just, it's beyond disgraceful. You couldn't say enough words that how disappointing it is.
I just don't know.
You're right. Like putting a restriction on a thing, it's like you're not going to change it. So are you meant to just go, oh, well, it's just going to happen? Because that's sort of your thing. It
is. Well, I've asked the question for a few years, and as you know, social media is not my forte. No. But I think having some accountability for what you say in a public forum, I think is, at least in principle, a good idea. Whether it's practical, you're a better place to answer that and know is the answer with regards to, people being able to make up various accounts under nefarious...
Imagine sitting at home.
And that's what you want to put on.
Imagine going, I'm just going to just write this.
Have a crack at Willie about his... I don't get it. I don't understand it. You know what? I would love... Wouldn't it be great if... And the occasion does happen where some of these, either men, women, whatever they are, teenagers, are outed and have to confront face-to-face some of these moments.
So that happened to Nick Nat. Nick Natanui, when he was on BackChat, was... racially abused, I'm fairly sure. And
how could you?
And they found who he was, and they brought him to the club with his mum.
What is it?
Face to face.
Was it a boy? Was it a young boy?
Yeah, it was a teenager, and it wasn't a dressing down from Nick Nat, but the mum found out and was horrified.
Good on her for education.
He came to the club, and I dare say that would be the last time they'd be doing anything.
But sometimes, look, I don't know if this is taught in schools. Anyway, we're getting off the subject, but it's one of those issues that affects social media. Is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and that's just the sour element of it.
Action over outcome suspension. Pat Voss handed 3-match ban for striking Nick Vlaston. Was this action or outcome?
Both.
Fair?
I think it was both. The outcome was a broken nose.
Yes. So I think this is...
I think it was spot on.
I think this is an action suspended at the right level. I agree.
I have nothing... You know what? The only dig I'll have at is at the Dockers for spending $10,000 wasted $10,000, in my opinion.
The reason they did that, though, Skeet, is because of the inconsistencies in the tribunal, because people this year have got off for dangerous actions.
You're talking Rory Lobb.
I'm talking Rory Lobb. There's multiple occurrences this year. Don't worry about any other year. This year, I've been talking about it every bloody week on this thing. Where the action
comparable. Let's do a comparable piece.
Well, they used Lobb.
Well, Lobb is the one. Lobb was, again, there's a fair difference in that one because he was theoretically trying to spoil the ball. The ball was there.
Theoretically, Voss was trying to tackle the player.
A swinging arm doesn't constitute.
I'm not defending Voss.
Yeah.
Mate, the AFL tribunal inconsistencies made Freo, they had to challenge it because other people have been tried on their outcome. This is my exact point.
But action and outcome here weren't great, in my opinion.
Correct. This is what it should be. That should be 3 weeks. And multiple occurrences this year should be 3 weeks, but they haven't. And so Freo are going, well, what's the precedent here? Are we the AFL's caused this?
I thought
I would have challenged if I was Freo too.
I thought they had zero chance of getting a reprieve.
Same.
And I don't buy the fact that they thought that other cases I think I saw some of the evidence they gave. Part of it was to do that, as he missed any training, it wasn't a concussion. I just thought some of the arguments were tenuous to get off.
And I to do with the outcome, mate, because the
action wasn't great either.
The tribunal has been suspending on outcomes. So they brought up all these outcomes arguments because that's what they've been suspending on. So now what? And for Freo fans, it's like, so now it's action. It's action.
No, it's both because he had a broken nose and the action was no good as well. So there's two elements, not just one.
Oh my God!
You're saying this. It's outcome, correct? Outcome is what the tribunal has been suspending on.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the outcome here means that has to be 3 weeks or whatever it is. Pick your number.
Right.
The action as well. I don't think the action is any better. Although I don't think he intended to strike him.
It's a shit action, and the 3 weeks is fair.
Yeah. So I got no argument. And again, I just thought Fremantle were having a real throw at the stumps from a long way up.
Noah Balta expected to return to the AFL this week after being punished enough, per coach Adam Uze. This is despite his sentencing hearing being next Tuesday, the 22nd of April. Has Noah Balta been punished enough, Skeeter?
Interesting choice of words, isn't it? And look, coaches, they're ad-libbing, they're talking, they're speaking off the cuff. So I don't think that's the right choice of words, punished enough, because the ultimate determinant of that will be what happens in the courts. Yes. In that sense, I don't see why Richmond should be selecting him at the moment. I know they put a 4-week penalty there. I know the AFL has stood back and watched them conduct their own penalty system. If I'm Richmond, and I'm pretty strong on this, if I'm Richmond, wait until the court case takes place, find out what the result of that is, if it's a suspended sentence, if it's whatever it is. I mean, obviously, if it's a jail sentence, which I don't know if that's the case. I probably think not, but again, I'm not privy to all the information. Then you can make a clear view on whether he should play or not. So, I don't think he should be playing at the moment until after the court case.
So why has the AFL not just said that?
That's a good shout. It's on their shoulders to wear that. And it's also on Richmond. As the club, given it's been hand-passed to them, a looping hospital hand-pass, they gave him 4 weeks. They gave him 4 weeks. But as a club, you can still be strong enough, in my opinion, to say, you know what, read the room. This is not sitting well with a lot of people in the community. Once the court case is completed, and we have had callers on radio about the NRL with their stand-down policy. Once you are charged with an offence, you are not allowed to play football until that court case is heard. The counter-argument to that, which I, as you know, last night I asked, what if you get to 3 months until the court case is heard, Will Schofield is found not guilty of an assault or an incident, and you've missed 3 months of playing football. So it's not as simplistic as that. But I just don't think Noah Balta playing for 1 week or maybe 2 weeks before, or 2 matches before his court case, I don't think it benefits anybody really.
Well, the AFL's put Richmond in this position, and I can take your point of view and say that Richmond shouldn't play him. But if I'm Richmond, I'm playing him. He's one of our best players. The AFL have ticked this off. They haven't said to Richmond, we've given him 4 weeks. You ought to give him until he's sentenced. They've said he's had his suspension. So,
but that's a club imposed suspension.
Yeah, what, the 4-weeker?
Yeah, well, his club imposed.
So why hasn't the AFL come in? Because I want to know, Skeet, where's the line?
Good question.
What I ask. Like,
good question.
It's like, okay, so king hitting someone, that's all right, you shouldn't play. Is armed robbery, is that a line? Is doing 120 in a 60 zone, like should you get suspended there? Or drink driving, should you be playing? Do you know what I mean?
I've got no issue with the club suspending him because once he's pleaded guilty to assault. So that's someone asked last night, wait until the court case, innocent until proven guilty. He's pleaded guilty.
Okay, so with drink driving, what if someone does that? Should they not be playing? Do you know what I mean? Like the AFL is making the club judge and juror. Why is the AFL, who is the league, who they run the joint? Why are they not saying you're done until you get sentenced? Why are they not saying that? Why are they handing it off? Why are they rubbing their hands, going, "Oh, we're not going to touch this one"? They've done that too often with too many actions over the last 18 months.
Yeah, and in the NRL, I mean, there's a case over in Vegas where there was a racial slur. I think that copped 8 weeks from memory. That's a Luai, I think it is. And then there was Ezra Mann, a Brisbane Bronco, who crashed his car, almost really badly injured a young girl. And the debate was how long should he get on that basis? And I think, again, I stand corrected, it might have been around that 2-month period as well. So it's not just the AFL that has to consider these actions, but the NRL is in the same position as well with players, and they're different. They're completely different cases. But
that's why it needs to be taken out of the club's hands, mate, because the club wants to win games of footy, right? I know you can stand above that, Skeet, but the clubs are there to win.
They're not. Yeah. Richmond's not doing anything this year. We know that.
I know,
so why not make a statement yourself?
Yeah, but
stand
because
for something.
The AFL runs the league.
Well, the AFL has been weak. I agree, but that doesn't mean you can be weak as well.
Okay, thank you very much. AFL player.
You like that? I thought that was quite good. Yeah,
about time you fucking be a bit strong about something. AFL. You like that? You like that?
It came out well. It was like a good, punchy. I thought it was good.
Just clip that up, please. Get real strong, and then you pissing yourself. Like, you like that? Oh, strong there. AFL.
It's a serious subject.
Thank you, Skeet. AFL planning Labor Day Eve MCG blockbuster between Collingwood and Carlton to close out opening round in 2026.
You know what's happened? All the talk about how opening round or round zero should be played out. I've heard this suggestion made maybe a month ago. The AFL's obviously heard it and gone, oh, yeah, okay, so we're missing out on a game in Victoria that weekend. How do we do that? Oh, Moomba's on. This has been mentioned by, I think, someone in the media going back. In fact, I heard it on Talkback Radio on 3AW maybe 6 weeks ago.
Moomba.
And it's on the Moomba long weekend. Moomba Festival. You're a Victorian.
They fly the machines in the river.
Yeah, and they have the King and Queen of Moomba, don't they? They have all celebrities from Victoria.
What's that got to do with gather round?
That's what they're trying to... I think they're trying to make...
opening round, sorry.
Opening round as the culmination of the northern states being celebrated. I think the AFL doesn't know what they're doing with opening round, to be totally honest with you.
Goodness gracious.
Because there's lots of pushback. I mean, that's 5 weeks ago. We don't have to worry about it until about December, do we?
The AFL are that desperate to, we want to take over every other state, but don't forget about Victoria for 1 week. We've got to have Collingwood and Carlton represented.
Well, I think it's because of the pushback against them. And, while I think, since a lot of journalists like myself are jealous because we'd rather be going to Vegas like the NRL boys to watch some football than watching on a TV calling stuff from Sydney and Brisbane.
I did my best. I turned Hindley Street Adelaide into Vegas, into my own Vegas.
You turned it into the Hangover Part 2, which is just out.
Very good. All right, let's get into the game, Skeeter. We'll start over here in the West. West Coast v Essendon, Optus Stadium, Friday, 4 o'clock. What is going on?
Good Friday.
Yeah, Good Friday. I understand that, but why is it at 4 p.m?
Because there's a match that runs before that, North and Carlton, which will then run straight. You complain about games interlapping, or overlapping, should I say. You prefer a 6 o'clock start on Good Friday? 4 o'clock's fine, mate. Let's get it done and done. Mate, this could be another very average game of footy, let's be honest. It's got potential.
Fair idea that this could be an absolute howler. I'll give you a little bit of injury updates. Skeeter, Jeremy McGovern, he's a test with an adductor. Elijah Hewitt, potentially available after that calf. I think the big question is, will we see the number 31, Luca Grego? I would like to see him. He was best on in the waffle last week. And for West Coast, does Tim Kelly spend another week in the waffle? Nick Bryan did his ACL. He's out. Todd Goldstein and Peter Wright, both options to replace him. Skeeter.
I just going back to Luca Grego. Yep. Now, I haven't seen a frame of him playing footy, but can you give us, our listeners, a bit of an update on what he's like?
Just think of
midfielder
Chris Judd and put the number 31 on him. No, I've been banging on about him a little bit because I saw some footage of him in the pre-season. I like what I saw.
What does he do?
What is he wearing the number 31?
Give us what he's...
hard running, good skills, like pretty tidy sort of a player, and he's tough and hard, and he tackles, and he chases, and he puts his head over the ball, and after 77 contested possessions, the worst of all time, I reckon you could do worse with Luca Grego in the side, West Coast Eagles. Tim Kelly, is he going to play or not?
I don't think so. Although I heard Andrew McQualter, you think he's going to play?
I see he's not going to play. I don't know.
I think Andrew McQualter, he talked him up yesterday as the quality that he is. I'm not sure if going back for 1 week is what the plan was. I've got to be honest with you, it could go either way. I'd suspect another week in the waffle. That would be my gut feeling.
I suppose that would make probably more sense. You're probably right there. If you're going to drop them and he has 20 and kicks one, like he hasn't had 50.
Exactly. He hasn't just torn the joint down. So I'd be as much as, and even, look, speaking to Jake Waterman without betraying any of his the off-air chat we had, he said, as a player, you still want to have Tim Kelly in the side because you know the quality that he brings and he can put it on your chest. Yeah. So from that point of view, selfishly, blokes like Jake going, we want our best players in there. But from the coaching perspective, maybe they need to look outside put it this way, hasn't served them well up to this point of the season.
No, I probably actually fall into line with you. I don't know if he does play on a bit of that logic, so that's quite good from you, Skeeter. So what do we see from West Coast?
You said the other night, last night, you just want to compete. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing Richmond, and let's be honest, Richmond's a team that's so green and so much youth in there, but you sense that there's an appetite for the contest. The numbers we've heard from Champion Data last weekend, and that's been twice. I think they've won one quarter this season.
Thanks to Aspect Accountants, West Coast has won just one quarter this year, the first quarter versus Brisbane in round 2. Well, one quarter of footy.
Yeah, that's 3 fewer than the most least in front of them.
So at what point, do you think, does Andrew McQualter blink at all in terms of, I guess he's starting to drop players and trying to pull the selection hammer, but, is there an issue in messaging, or is there an issue in game style out of the middle? Or, does he blink with, you think of silly things like, all right, boys, we're going one-on-one. I go ultimate things like put a Hocking back in the day, putting every one of his player inside 50 to teach them how to defend.
That's the feel, wasn't it?
Yeah. So they started the centre bounce with no one at it, and they had 18 blokes inside 50.
That rings a bell now, yeah.
And Ben Sharp gave a handball to Mark Seaby, who was playing at West Perth, and they just stood and handballed. So Ben Sharp had 65 touches.
So there's no one inside the centre square?
Yeah.
Aren't you obliged to have... Oh, no, 666.
This is 2005. There's no 666.
But you must, even so now, you must be obliged, for instance, to have...
Well, I don't... 666, yes, but... Before then,
it's stupid, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you had to. So, because remember, you could start with 4 loose behind the ball.
Yeah, which is, and the last 2 minutes of a game, you lead by a point. That's what you're doing.
So he had everyone stand there, and they handballed around, and they gave it to their biggest kick. They weren't allowed out of the 50. So he said, you're not allowed to leave 50. So they gave it to their biggest kick. They kicked a goal from 60. So that analogy being, does Andrew McQualter change anything he's doing from a game plan point of view, or does he just put it on the players, do you think?
I think a bit of both. I'm concerned that there's just we can bang on about how putrid the Eagles are, but is this list where they're at the moment? I mean, people are saying they're not trying. There's elements of their game that they aren't committed to. I can't believe that elite athletes are in that category. I just don't think they're good enough, and that's the sad reality of it.
You just would have to, Skeet. With my time in the game, with your games of footy you've seen, with as bad of sides of we've seen, you would have seen Fitzroy.
Yeah.
Right. You probably would have played South Melbourne.
Don't go too far back.
Play the Port Melbourne Pipers back in the 30s. But you've seen GWS and Gold Coast.
But at least you knew the reasons. Yeah, you knew the reasons. The young clubs.
We've seen these terrible sides, but very rarely do they just keep going off an edge. I would be so surprised if there's not a bounce back from West Coast. I'm not saying they're going to win, but if they're worse than last week,
and you saw them firsthand,
if they're worse than that, pack it up. Seriously, that was as bad as it gets. It can't get any worse.
Well, if you got those players back in McGovern, Hewitt, possibly another debutant comes into the side. Yeah, look, Essendon's, I think they've won their past 2 or 3, haven't they? They're playing some decent footy, beat Melbourne pretty comfortably. That's not a great sort of preparation in terms of quality.
I'd tag Zach Merritt.
I'm about to say Zach Merritt could have 45.
I would tag the shit out of him.
But with whom?
Oh, anyone. Honestly.
Jack Graham?
Yeah, anyone, mate. Just put someone and say, this is your job for the day. Put a young, like Clay Hall, he's fit.
Yeah.
Like, just go.
Tom Gross?
Yeah.
No?
Oh, no.
You more creative than that?
Yeah. I reckon Clay Hall's the guy. And you fit and just go, you will imagine how much Clay Hall would learn running around Zach Merritt. Like, even if he does get touched up, just go and play on him. See what he does at stoppage. See what he does off the ball. See how quickly he leaves contests. Like, he would learn instantly. So I'll be doing that. I'll pick West Coast. No, I'm joking. I'll pick Essendon.
Yeah, I hope Liam Ryan continues his good form. Liam Baker's probably leading the John Worsfold medal. Liam Baker, though, I reckon he'd be in the discussion as well. And it's good to see a senior player, and there haven't been too many of them, and he's missed a game along the way. But he looks like I hope he continues, because I've thought in the past Liam's been pretty content just to sit back and watch other senior players do the job. But this year that looks like it's changing, and good on him. Essendon.
Yeah, thank you. Fremantle v Melbourne at the MCG, Saturday, 11:20. Good to see the Dockers get a game on the G. They play pretty well over there over the last couple of years. Pat Voss is out, suspended, clearly. Do they bring Liam Reedy in to ruck alongside Sean Darcy, or does Oscar McDonald come into the side, who's more of a forward-type option?
I'm not wrapped in Liam Reedy coming in with Sean Darcy in that sense.
Surely not, yeah.
No, yeah. But I'm also not overly enamoured with having Josh Tracy having to go into the middle. So you just want to protect your blue chipper.
They'll bring someone in. I reckon they'll bring Oscar McDonald in.
And to do that pinch hitting? Well, he's not really even. He's a defender, isn't he, by trade?
That's a good point.
It's a really interesting one. Darcy going to have to, and it's only second game back. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm not huge on Reedy coming in with Darcy. If you're going to have Reedy in there, it's with Jackson, in my own opinion. But yeah, either way, Melbourne, another tough week for them. Stephen May's in doubt with injury. Cosy Pickett's thinks going to play, but had an issue at training. So they've got some quality. They had Maxie Gorm meeting with the incoming chairman, Simon Goodwin. I think you're pretty strong on where he sits, and that's on the edge.
Well, so I think they lose this game, and I think he's going to get sacked mid-year. Yeah, I think they're going to move him quickly. If you think about the coaches that are available right now, and maybe available at the end of the year, Melbourne's going to make a move this year.
Yes,
you got Adam Simpson, John Longmire,
Luke Beveridge coming out of contract.
Yep, Nathan Buckley. These are premiership coaches. Ken Hinkley.
Buckley's not a premiership coach, but yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but he's been in grand finals, yep.
Yep, so Longmire, Simpson, Hinkley.
Yes.
Not premiership, but prelims.
Oh, there's a lot of quality there.
Buckley, and then, Beveridge as well. So you got 5, I would say, highly credentialed coaches coming into the mix. Teams that want to make a move, I would say, are going to make them this year. So that doesn't bode well for Simon Goodwin, because they've done the culture reset and it hasn't worked. And it's a great opportunity for Freo to get it done, thanks to Aspect Accountants, who are bringing us the numbers on the Shelter FootyCast. Fremantle has won its last 3 matches against Melbourne by an average margin of 50 points. And since round 19 last season, Melbourne have had 1 win and 10 losses.
And averaging, I think, 61 points this season or thereabouts in the early 60s.
Freo should wipe them.
I've banged on about this for so long, but what about the Demons scored just 2 goals from 27 entries in the first half last weekend? They cannot kick a goal. Their midfield's quality, they're getting entries, but you're right, Fremantle's defence will take care of them, and you're right, there should be if they don't win by, I know it's Melbourne and a game at the MCG, they should be winning this by 5 to 6 goals. We saw what they did to them in Alice Springs last year.
Yeah.
It's there if the appetite's there. The Dockers, there's no excuse for them not to build something on Saturday.
Brayshaw's going, Sarong's going, Young looked good on return, Sean Darcy's back in the side. Alex Pearce is playing well. Like their back line overall, I think looks pretty good.
Yep.
Josh Tracy's leading the Coleman. Like, you don't want to say, well, like Freo back, Flagmantel's on, but they certainly look a lot better than they did to start the year, don't they?
Absolutely. And to hopefully finish this round, what would the ledger be? They've won 3, so 4-2. Would that be right after this round if they win?
Yeah.
With the game against Adelaide to come. So that's a sort of momentum which, even going back to last year, they had some sluggish starts to the season. Geelong, poor. But if you take that Geelong performance out, Sydney, they were competitive, beaten by a kick.
Yeah.
It has been trending in the right direction. So I like it from a Dockers perspective. They'll beat Melbourne. They should be beating them comfortably. And, it sets them up to really, at 4-2, the first job is to play finals and get to 12 wins or 13 wins as quick as you can, and then sort out business after that.
Yeah, great. Brisbane v Collingwood, that's tonight, Skeet. There's some good matchups this weekend. I was pretty critical last week. I didn't think there was many good games, to be honest, like in terms of matchup-wise, but there is this weekend. There's about 4 or 5 of them. So Brizzy Collingwood at the Gabba Thursday night. There'll be a debutant. Sam Marshall, tell us about him, Skater.
He goes really well. But no, he's got some good reports coming out of Brisbane about him. Don't know a lot about those individual qualities. But it is Jamie Elliott's 200th game, I can tell you that.
Yes.
And we know he can take a spec, he can kick a big goal. This is going to be a really good game. Brisbane's heavy favourites. But you'll go through some numbers for aspect accounting there. But tell you what, they were down by 39 against the Bulldogs. They've been conceding big starts. Against Collingwood, who's got a really tight defensive group, this is offence versus the defensive mechanisms of Collingwood. Collingwood's in this game up to the eyeballs, I reckon.
Yeah, so Jordan DeGoey comes in. Tim Embry out. That's a decent out, but Jordan DeGoey's a pretty decent in.
Are you comfortable with the term managed being used by clubs?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it says managed.
Did you hear
Chris Scott?
I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks. That was a direct quote. I don't care what anyone thinks.
Well, that's fair. He's being honest.
Yeah, he's being honest. So does that mean you just, so what? Okay, what if Chris Scott said that about one of his, what if Noah Balta played for Geelong and Chris Scott said, I don't care what anyone thinks, I'm going to do whatever I want?
Oh, it's a slightly different situation. But he's I think it might have been asked in reference to those, fantasy players, gambling.
No, it was asked in terms of his late changes that he pulls every week. He's been doing it for 5 years.
But the reason that I think he's alluding to that people are pissed off about that is it's whether it's gambling on the game, you've got fantasy players. What else is there that upsets?
The fans?
Yeah, the fans.
Maybe just the fans, yeah.
No, the fan. Well, he's talking about the...
Yeah, I know he is.
You know what? All he's worried about is his fans. And you know what? I reckon there's not one Geelong supporter that complains about the late change if they're winning.
Right, what if they lose? Watch Patrick Dangerfield. Little Johnny's come to watch Patrick Dangerfield and Chris Scott doesn't give a shit about anyone else. He just pulls him out last minute. Oh, well. You don't care about Little Johnny. You hate Little Johnny.
Don't hate Little Johnny, but Little Johnny's going to have to sit there and just have his meat pie and watch other players. No, Cats fans love him, and so they should. They're always contending.
Yeah, good point. Back on this game, thanks to Aspect Accountants, Brisbane have won their last 8 games when trailing at half time.
The comeback kings, aren't they?
Yeah, so this
can't keep doing it, can you?
That's the most since Carlton in 1910.
Yeah, it was a good
year. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. It was a good year. A lot of weren't many shelters around. But, I can tell you now, there wasn't much happening outside the ground afterwards. Just went home on the train and the tram, and off we went.
The tram, you would have walked home, mate. Horse and cart on the way home. Who's winning? I have no idea.
I've tipped Brisbane.
Yeah,
It's a Gabba, but this Collingwood side. Terrible in round 1, but they've been really good since.
Yes.
And this is going to be quality. And you just feel that Chris Fagan's going to try and get his team to play some footy in the first half because you can't keep conceding like this, as good as they are.
No.
Unless they do it again, then they are that good. But Collingwood is a slightly different beast. Brisbane, what should be a ripping match?
I might see if I can chase down who won the tips. I don't think I announced them on Monday, but it did just make me think, Skate. I'm coming 140th at the moment.
140? Are you serious? Yeah. That's $1,040.
That's 1,400.
1,400. My maths was never good.
Does that make you happy? I'm in the whole 1,400.
It makes me happy. I'm not sure once Alex finds actually overly enamoured.
I need to start picking these tips up, and this week's a hard week. Look how happy you are. Brisbane, we both pick them. North Melbourne v Carlton, Marvel Stadium Friday, Good Friday game. See, I like this game. I think there's so much on the line for both of these sides. Carlton, like they are just in a hole of all holes.
So is North Melbourne.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying. This is the hole off, mate. North Melbourne, they've been basically pitiful. I think they're averaging 120 points a game against. So there's a lot on the line for whoever loses this game, which makes it a good game, Skeeter. Harry Mackay is out with concussion. Big head clash at Adelaide Oval last week. Brodie Kemp, he is out for the season with an Achilles, which is disappointing because he was having a pretty good year. Mark Pitonnet and Lewis Young are probably the ones back in to see that. We might see TDK play a bit more forward. We've seen him dominating in the ruck.
He's a beautiful player, isn't he?
Yeah. So, with Harry Mackay out, I think they might look at that, playing him a little bit more forward alongside him.
Yeah.
How do you see this one going?
A lot of speculation about Michael Voss and where they're at, etc. I don't think they've been playing that bad at footy. They've been beaten, and I know they've pushed Collingwood, they've pushed Hawthorn. They haven't been winning, so that's the bottom line. North Melbourne gets away scot-free. Alistair Clarkson, the numbers that he's producing with, I know they're young, but at what stage are we expecting them to tick over from potential to performance? That's a genuine question. But yeah, Carlton's got a lot of, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it there, Brodie Kemp's injury with the Achilles out for the rest of the year.
Yep.
That's pretty significant given that he's been a nice little chop out, given Mackay's out again. Charlie Curnow gets support. So, yeah, we know the mids are really strong for Carlton. I think they've won their last 4 matches at Marvel Stadium. And even though you say pressure on both sides, I think it's more Carlton. Everyone's zeroing on Carlton to make a bit of a, put a sequence of matches together, and they get their chance here. We know the form that Sam Walsh is in. Cripper keeps doing his stuff, and I think they should be still too strong against the North side that, they're just coughing up too many scores.
Thanks to Aspect Accountants, the Blues won the inside 50 count last week by 38 against the West Coast Eagles, their biggest differential on record. North Melbourne win this, Skeeter. From what I saw from Carlton against West Coast, sometimes you play to the level, right? Like sometimes you play, down. They were not good. Carlton's skills were poor. Their execution was poor. They were pretty loose. The whole game was just garbage, and I thought they played a part of it.
I think Michael Voss in the post-match sort of indicated that as he wasn't talking it up. He sounded a bit flat. Forget the 71 points. It was about the way they went about it. And you're right. It's a window for North, but here's North who they're trading blows with the Gold Coast during the third quarter, I think it was, and then get beaten by 50 plus points. So I think
if they do that against Carlton, they win. I reckon they win well as well. They're $3 underdogs.
Yeah,
I'll take them. Thanks,
your upsets of the week. They've sort of been a bit shaky.
Why are they so loose?
Oh, I just think because
Gold Coast are good.
No, but they can't win.
Neither can Carlton, mate.
Well, Carlton's been a bit compared. Their draw.
They've won one game. It's against West Coast, the worst side in the history of the game.
I know that, but I just said to you, I think they were competitive against Carlton. They've fallen away in the second halves, but they have shown, I think, a bit more than North, who no one trusts North yet. You do. You've tipped them. I'm tipping Carlton to win, but you're probably going to be smiling tomorrow afternoon.
Probably not, because my tips are shit out. Adelaide v GWS at Adelaide Oval.
Oh, toughie.
Saturday twilight game. This is probably the game of the weekend, I think. Like a couple of really good teams going at it. James Peatling will miss this one with suspension. Nick Murray is in following a comeback from a knee injury. I think he'll play on Jesse Hogan. He wasn't out for too long. The couple of questions I have on this one is who does Toby Bedford go to? He's been a pretty tried and tested tagger. Is it Isaac Rankin or is it Jordan Dawson? I personally would tag Rankin. I think Dawson plays a defensive type mid role.
Rankin can carve you up.
You need to have someone accountable to Dawson, but Isaac Rankin can kick 3 and have 30 from the midfield.
But I guess the counter to that
it's like a Jordan Dawson, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. But the counter to that is that Rankin could have anyone play on him. He's such a tough player to shut down for long periods. But yeah, interesting discussion. I suppose the other question is: are Adelaide so reliant and on their tall forwards and what they bring to the table? The Giants had St Kilda on toast early in that game. They were dominant. If they're not premiership favourites, which I don't think they are, they have to be in that conversation, really, given what we're seeing from them. They're consistent. Toby Green kicked a handful, I think, against the Saints last week.
Thanks to Aspect Accountants, Toby Green has booted 3 or more goals in each of his last 4 outings against the Crows, in which GWS has won 4 of its last 5 matches against, with a winning margin averaging 39 points.
That's quite convincing, isn't it? Yeah. When you weigh that up against the Crows, who've won 16 quarters this season, ranked equal first alongside the Giants, this is looming as a really good game. Adelaide haven't had to travel, well rested. The Giants, I'm guessing, have stayed in Adelaide or not? Would they have gone home?
It's a good question.
I don't know. Anyway, either way, it should be a beauty, and it's the midfield of his. Mentioned the Giants, Tom Green and Callaghan, and they've got some absolute elite midfielders. Likewise, Adelaide, and then you talk about the power forward situation with Jesse Hogan at one end, and whether it's Fogarty or Thilthorpe. This has got these two sides should be playing finals, in my opinion.
Shootout, or is it going to be
Adelaide plays that sort of style, don't they?
Yeah, I reckon we could get a high scorer in this one, Skeet, and I'm looking forward to that. I think who's favourite?
I think it's almost line ball, to be honest.
Adelaide's favourite.
Just.
Adelaide is favourite. I'm going to go Giants. I like them.
I've tipped Adelaide.
I think I'm tipping like 4 upsets this week.
Yeah, but that's a 50-50 call. Given their record against them, I'm not. I could be swayed easily to pick the Giants. I've gone with Adelaide in the paper, but that might change.
In the Damien Hardwick Cup, Richmond v Gold Coast at Marvel Saturday night. Gee, Richmond will be filthy driving from the MCG to Marvel Stadium. We know they don't travel well. Sam Lawler is back in after a bit of a hip complaint at training. Noah Balta expected to return. Skater. I wonder if anything will change with lots of people talking about it and people. I wonder if at match committee they'd have to be discussing it, wouldn't they? It's clearly in their best 22.
Exactly. So in terms of footy sense, it's a no-brainer. But this isn't all about the footy side of it.
Ben King, it's his 100th game for the Gold Coast Suns, who's an important player for them. Richmond are winless in their last 11 matches, thanks to Aspect Accountants giving us the numbers this week at Marvel Stadium. That's an interesting stat, but I think this one's going to be all over Red Rover pretty early.
Yeah, I think they played reasonably well at Marvel Stadium, the Suns. They like it there. They've won some Essendon late last year. No, I think they're quality, and they're feeling good about themselves. When you're unbeaten, you're up the top of the table with your rivals from Brisbane. Their midfield's going well. If they can just stay injury-free to a large degree, we know that they lost Ballard early in the season, but this is a side that, rightfully so, in about a month from now, they could be shifting their focus from playing finals to somewhere in that top 4. I know it's a hell of a long way to go, but
this has to be the cushiest first 5 rounds in the history of the AFL. They had a bye. They had the Cyclone. They played West Coast. Then they had a bye. Then they played Melbourne, right, who were terrible. They played Adelaide, bad at home. They played North Melbourne last week, who were shit. They're playing Richmond, who are worse. Of course they're going to start well.
Yeah, and that's been franked by Herald Sun just releasing the easiest first 5 rounds on sort of a ladder in that department.
In the history of the world, or just...
No, just this for this year. You clown. Gold Coast, ranked number 1
yes.
as easiest. Next, Fremantle.
Is that right?
Yeah. Brisbane, 3rd. Carlton, 4th. Giants, 5th. Hawthorn at 6th.
Who's last?
West Coast Eagles is saying. First, easiest first 5.
Well, because whoever they play, it's going to be a hard game. Well, seriously.
Easiest first. So, yeah, and you think they've had Brisbane. Yeah. They've had, well, the Gold Coast we didn't know, but they were still powerful. Carlton, I guess, because of what we thought going from last year or certainly last couple of years. So, yeah, Eagles comfortably the toughest runner. It's not going to get any easier.
Who are you picking?
Gold Coast Suns. I like the Suns, and I'm on their train, and I think they're an exciting team to watch.
Did you have them playing finals at the start of the year?
No, I think you did.
So you just jumped on the train?
Absolutely. I'm not afraid to say that. I had them out because I wasn't trusting them, and I think I might have had Adelaide in, but who knows? I'm actually just guessing this.
Can you remember if I had Melbourne in or not?
You definitely had them in. You had them almost contending.
After winning the flag. You absolute idiot.
Well, what a hammer sat in this chair pre-season and absolutely teed off on the Crows.
Yeah, that's
said
right.
They're useless. No good. Terrible list. Goodbye. So it's great there's other people as stupid as you and I.
Yeah, you're right. Sydney v Port Adelaide at the SCG Sunday. Another good game, I think. Or not?
No, it is. I just, you know what this reminds me of exactly what happened. I'm sure, did Sydney play Port Adelaide in the prelim final last year?
No idea, mate. I didn't know who played last week.
Because remember, they beat Hawthorn in that final. Then I think they went to Sydney.
Sure.
It just reminds me of that they build that game up on the weekend, on Sunday night, so much so.
They're going to get smashed, though.
And then I just think Sydney, I just think there's a bit of deja vu with that. That's another French term you'll like.
We should get some sort of I don't know, like
Bridget Bardot.
Petamiam, like yogurt to sponsor Skeet's French word of the week. Petamiam is French.
I know about 6 French words. I don't get too funky.
John, what did you say last night on radio? You said something else French. You think you're French?
No, I don't.
Like, you're Canadian. Not French Canadian. You're just Canadian.
I don't know.
Joel Amarty's out. Justin McInerney in, and the wheels are falling off this show. Thanks to Aspect.
Joel Amarty's out.
Yeah, Joel Amarty's out with a hamstring. Port Adelaide has won 8 of the last 9 meetings between these sides, with their one loss coming in last year's preliminary final.
There you go.
So they go pretty well against Sydney, do Port Adelaide. At the SCG, though, I'm taking Sydney in this one.
Yeah, me too. Swans are pretty poor, I thought, against Collingwood. When I say poor, they were outclassed. So it wasn't. I mean, Dean Cox, I'm sure, would have gone to work on what he can improve with them. They've got, obviously, Hayden McLean will probably have to step up in attack. Logan McDonald, I think he's back. He returned, I think, last weekend. Isaac Heaney. Yeah, I think, and Chad Warner, goalless last round for the first time this season. I think he's a big bounce-back player. I think, as I said, I think Port really got themselves up for Hawthorn. I just think Sydney at home, a little bit more composure.
Western Bulldogs v St Kilda at Marvel Sunday night. Marcus Bontempelli is a test. Holy shit. The big fella. He's a test to play this week, Skeeter.
They've done well, haven't they, the Bulldogs? I know they got beaten last week,
but they could have easily won it.
They've hung up by 39.
Yeah.
They've hung around, haven't they?
They have. Like, they would just love to park the Jamara Ugle-Hagen conversation.
I was about to ask you exactly the same question. The social media stuff comes out during the week.
What was he doing? I saw a brief thing. What was he doing?
I think he was at dinner, and I think along those lines. I don't think it was he filmed it, whether he shared it or not.
He was just having a drink? Or?
Well, possibly. But what do you do if you're the Bulldogs now with that?
Well, it's my understanding that they don't have recourse to stop paying him. Like, they're not allowed to do that under the CBA. Like, I think they may have applied to do that because, from what I've heard inside the club, he might, he's not training, and then on a Thursday he comes down with his boots and he wants to train, and then he doesn't rock up the next day to do any recovery. He just
scattered.
May as well just be not even there. And given his contract and where it's at, and other clubs, like, if you're him, I guess why would you go and injure yourself? You're better off. Everyone thinks you're an absolute train wreck anyway. Why wouldn't you just pack it up for the year?
So on that basis,
and that's devil's advocate.
Yeah, but on that basis, if you're a rival club, for argument's sake, the West Coast Eagles wanted to get a quality forward in if Oscar Allen goes, are you considering it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I reckon...
backing yourself to turn him around?
Well, if Oscar Allen, who's like one of the more clean-cut operators I've ever met in my life, is having conversations with Sam Mitchell at bloody cafe or wherever he's doing it, I reckon there's coaches talking to Jamar Ugle-Hagen and maybe a bit of, hey, don't even bother playing. Don't even bother. Wrap it up. So if that's the conversation, if you're the Western Bulldogs, it'd be great to just go, don't come to the club and we're not paying you because you're not playing or training. Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting that you as a rival club, how much you're going to have to give up to get him. It's a discussion for down the track, but I don't think he'll be there next year. That's not a huge statement.
No, I said that at the start of the year. I said he won't play for the Bulldogs again. I'll put that in the list of things that I've said right. There's about 3 of them. Liam Henry is in for his first game. I like him at St Kilda. I think he adds a bit of run to what they do. Thanks to Aspect, the Saints have won 8 of their last 9 matches at Marvel by an average winning margin of 36 points. So they love it. But so do the Bulldogs. They've won their last 7 matches at Marvel by an average winning margin of 38. Someone's got to win it, Skeeter. Who is it?
Well, they're both good under the lid, aren't they?
Who's winning?
I'm actually quite enamoured with the number 10 for the Bulldogs. I think he's the guy that... Sam Darcy.
Oh, right.
Sam Darcy.
Ed Richardson. No.
So on that basis, St Kilda, they do play the ground well. So do the Dogs. If the Bont plays, then I'd be more buoyant about the Bullies. But I still think they're playing pretty decent footy. To lead the reigning premiers by 7 goals or thereabouts, 6.5 goals, you're doing something right. They fell away. I think they've probably got more quality than St Kilda. But this again, one of the good matchups.
Yep, I think it is a good matchup. I'll take the Bulldogs as well. Geelong, Hawthorn, Easter Monday. Tom Stewart is in. He was a laid out with gastro. I wonder who's going to be the laid out this week. Over or under, yes or no, do you think there's going to be a laid out this week?
Definitely on the pro.
Jack Scrimshaw will come back in for Hawthorn. That's after his 3-game ban. Hawthorn, they need to get back on the horse quickly after that Port Adelaide performance.
Yeah, it was an aberration. Well, you hope it's an aberration. Sam Mitchell, but those numbers hadn't been all that flattering heading into that. They were winning. I think it was a really good jolt for them, to be totally honest. Interesting, I did hear in the pre-game on 7 on the weekend that with Will Day in the side, they won 80% of their matches. When he's been out, they've lost 30%. So it just shows you, it's just a figure, but that how important he is and his absence is.
And he probably won't play for the rest of the year.
Yeah, is that
it's pretty close. Like the surgery that he's had in his foot, had Steve Gravina on BackChat, has said, that's a career ender. I'm not saying his career's over, but it's not a good injury to be dealing with. So they'd be very, very cautious with him.
Got to say this: we've had a couple of matchups between these two clubs in the last few years where it's been, because there hasn't been. Hawks have been sort of not quite there. I think this is.
We're back.
You said Giants and Crows on Saturday's match of the round. Well, this is a beautiful way to finish. A traditional rivalry, genuine hatred between these clubs going back to the 2008 grand final. Paddy Dangerfield playing great footy. Hawks, I think, stung, and I think Sam Mitchell, tailor-made for him. Their record at the MCG is very good. I'm leaning towards Hawthorn here to have the bounce back and get the result against a Geelong side, which, again, defies you, defies me, defies anyone who says that they're done.
I'll take Hawthorn because I like them. That's another upset. So I think I'll pick 4 upsets. So that's going against everything that I live and breathe for, Skeet. Shelter Brewing Co. Beer fresh from the Busselton foreshore. As you can hear, my voice is going to Pooparama. We've got a couple of questions for the audience, though, Skeet. Good to see RFK Jr. joining Joe Biden on the podcast this week. Isn't that from my voice?
That's you, yeah. I said that. I said he's going to sound like you swallowed a mouthful of marbles.
Remember, your voice is your money maker, Scully. It's all right now, but by the time you're 50, you'll sound like Rod Stewart and your voice won't suit the golden oldies broadcasting on Sunday afternoon. That's
nothing wrong with Rod Stewart. Have you seen he's racked up a pretty good career?
Yeah, no, he's like a bit of a smooth operator.
He's had about 8 wives. You want to go to that path, you haven't got enough money to cover that.
8 wives.
He's had a lot. A couple of absolute beauties as well.
The footage of 4 to 5 defenders all turning their back on the mark and walking away is some of the most damning footage I've ever seen. Cripps marked 15 metres out and strolled into an open goal. That was bad. There's some bad things happening, mate. Bad.
These are moments and faults that you just don't expect to see at AFL.
Well, someone said 12-year-old footy sound the mark, which they do, which tells me these guys aren't Oz kickers. That they are good at football. That they are. It's individually these players they can all play. They got drafted, right? But as a collective, they aren't handling the mental toll. They aren't withstanding the burden of this performance, and they're losing their shit. They don't know how to run out of stoppage. They don't know how to stand the mark in the goal square. They don't know how to celebrate with their teammates.
You know what I'll do today?
I still could see a smirk on your face.
I'll grab the whole playing group. I'll go and hire out a cinema, and I'll go and watch Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and Rocky 3.
What will that do?
Fire them up! Do something! For the sake of your supporters. West Coast fans have had enough. This has gone on far too long. Go and see Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3. And if you don't show something then yo Adrian.
Would you give him a shelter or not? Are we doing with a beer?
What, at the cinema? No. This is the game eve. I'm taking them to the cinema. Okay. I'll give them some popcorn. That's it.
Okay. This is from Glyn. Tim Kelly was never an inside mid, and since being at West Coast has been asked to play that role because Yo didn't have anyone else. If we had 2 Bulls in there, he could play his outside mid role and play much better footy. I actually agree with that. Very good, Glyn. Sartorius Novatus. Richmond is shit. Melbourne is shit. North is shit. Essendon is still shit. There's no guarantees, but surely those games are all winnable for the shit Eagles.
Well, he's right. It's, there's you've put them. You've said there's 0 and 23. You've put them alongside Fitzroy of 1964. They will be winning a game. Not sure when.
So you should remember some of these, Skeeter. Just to follow up from Monday's show, there have been 13 winless seasons in VFL AFL history. Which ones don't you remember? So Fitzroy, 1964.
That's the last one, yes.
Yes, but then we had Hawthorn.
I wasn't born there, but anyway.
Hawthorn 28 and 1950.
No, I wasn't in that vicinity.
And North Melbourne 1926, 1931, 1934.
Who's putting these down?
We had Melbourne in 1919.
Who's cutting and pasting from a Google and then just putting on it as a question?
We had Skeeter's favourite side, University, in 1913 and 1914. And Skeeter's favourite winless season, which was St Kilda. They went winless. They had a rough 5 years. You think you're going badly, North Melbourne and West Coast fans? St Kilda were winless through 1897, 1898, 1899 and 1902. They didn't win a game for 5 years.
It's the St Kilda Social Club. The only good thing happening back in the late 1800s.
That is a shocking side.
Yeah, that's no good. Who's your
favourite player?
Who's the correspondent there?
That was good gear. That's from YouTube D.
Yeah, you got it on YouTube D. Just cut and paste and then put it in and then sound like you've done your research, a bit like we do every week.
Correct. Skeet, we're done. My voice is gone. Well done. Good luck for your hard working this weekend. I'll be on one game, just a Fox footy on the boundary, so probably won't be saying too much.
I'm doing the Gabba for 6PR tomorrow 7. I'll be alongside you doing that game, then some other stuff. Waffle on Saturday night. Have some Easter eggs on Sunday, and have a couple of shelters.
We have some Easter eggs.
Absolutely. I am a bit weak in that area and my wife will take a little, take a little square or a little piece of the Easter egg. I'll just grab it and eat it all.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to take the dump truck full of Easter eggs that's going to be our house, because my beautiful wife Alex is just a disgrace with this. Like, she will go. There will be
boys love it.
Well, they've got no choice, mate. They got 1,000 Easter eggs. Like, I'm not a chocolate. I could easily live without chocolate. I'll bring them to your house. And
I don't need them more because Vic. I'm sometimes out in the scullery and
scullery. In the scullery.
No, well, and the girls
in the scullery.
And the funny thing is, the girls, they're sitting on the couch and. Because if they see me eating too much chocolate, they all get into me. No, and then they can hear the rush, and I sort of try. They say, "Have you eaten anything?" I say, "Nope." And they go, "You absolute moron!" To the mirror, we can see in the mirror the reflection, you eating, scoffing chocolates into your mouth. So the women are far too smart for me. Happy Easter.